The human ship drifted quietly through the black void of space, its small form almost lost against the enormous alien fleet. Commander Jace, the human aboard, stared at the towering alien structures in awe. He had expected grandness, but the Emperor's flagship was beyond anything he had imagined. Gleaming metal stretched into the void like a city in space, lights blinking like stars. A sense of fear and excitement pressed against him at the same time. This was not just any alien ruler. This was the Emperor, a being who controlled hundreds of worlds, and he was about to see one of the most feared creatures in the galaxy. The doors of the docking bay opened with a hiss. Jace stepped out, his boots echoing against the polished floor. Aliens of all shapes and sizes watched him with sharp, glowing eyes. Many whispered to each other, some with amusement, others with suspicion. They were tall, covered in scales, feathers, and strange fabrics that shimmered. Jace felt tiny in the middle of them, a small human in a sea of giants. Ahead, the Emperor waited. He sat on a throne carved from a single piece of crystal, which pulsed with light like it had a life of its own. His skin was dark violet, his eyes deep and endless, filled with a cold intelligence that made Jace's stomach twist. Around him, the council of generals and nobles stood rigid, their expressions unreadable. And then a low rumble filled the chamber. The floor vibrated slightly and Jace felt it in his chest. From the shadows, a massive shape emerged. The Emperor's pet. Jace froze. It was enormous, taller than any alien in the room, with thick, glimmering scales that reflected the light in sharp shards. Its limbs were long and strong, tipped with claws that could shred steel. Two glowing eyes locked onto Jace, unblinking, intelligent, and deadly. The creature sniffed the air and let out a low growl that made everyone in the chamber step back. No one had touched the pet in decades. It was said to obey only the Emperor and to strike without warning if provoked. Jace could feel its power radiating through the floor, through the walls, through the very air. Every alien in the room knew it. The Emperor smiled faintly, clearly enjoying the tension. "Approach, human," he said. His voice was calm, yet it carried authority like a hammer. "Come closer to my pet. Let us see if it recognizes the intelligence of your kind." Jace swallowed hard. Every instinct screamed at him to refuse, to run, or to hide. But he also knew he had no choice. He stepped forward slowly, keeping his hands visible. The pet's eyes followed every move. Its claws scraped lightly against the floor, creating sparks that made Jace's heart skip. He could feel the eyes of the court on him, expecting the worst. Many already whispered that this human would die. Others just shook their heads at the Emperor, thinking this was a cruel joke. As he came closer, Jace noticed something strange. The pet was not moving aggressively, not yet. Its eyes, while intense, seemed curious. It sniffed the air again, tilting its massive head as if it was studying him. Jace remembered the stories. The Emperor's pet had killed soldiers, diplomats, and even generals who tried to claim its obedience. And yet here it was watching him, unblinking, uncharged. Jace took a deep breath. He could feel a pulse in the chamber, a rhythm that seemed almost musical. He stepped a little closer, noticing that the pet's breathing made the floor vibrate slightly. He wondered if it understood humans at all, or if it only recognized danger. The Emperor leaned forward on his throne, clearly amused. "Do not be afraid, human," he said. "But do not forget, you are nothing here. This creature obeys no one but me." Jace nodded. His mind raced. Every move he made had to be careful, measured. He could not show fear, but he could not provoke the creature either. He took another step, and the pet shifted slightly, making a deep, resonant sound that echoed in the chamber. The aliens tensed, some gripping weapons. Jace stopped, letting the silence fill the room. The pet sniffed again and let out a short, almost thoughtful grunt. Then, unexpectedly, it took a step back, not forward. A small wave of relief hit Jace, but he knew this was only the beginning. The pet was still the Emperor's creature, still deadly, still unpredictable. Every eye in the room followed him. The Emperor's smile grew wider. He knew something no one else could see. This human, tiny and fragile compared to the alien court, was standing unshaken in front of a creature feared across the stars. And perhaps, just perhaps, this human could do what no alien had managed for decades. Jace clenched his fists, taking in a deep breath. He could feel the weight of the moment, the history, the fear, and the challenge. He did not yet know how, but he felt a strange connection, a faint rhythm between him and the creature. The chamber held its breath, waiting to see what the human would do next. Jace stood frozen for a moment, heart pounding as the massive pet watched him. Every muscle in its body seemed ready to strike, yet it didn't. The creature's glowing eyes never left him, following his slightest movement, and the court held its collective breath. The Emperor leaned back, arms crossed, a smirk on his face. "Step closer, human," he said, voice calm but sharp. "Show us the courage or foolishness of your kind." Jace's mind raced. He could feel the pet's power, its raw strength, but he also noticed small details that no alien seemed to care about. The way its claws tapped lightly against the floor, the rhythm of its breathing, the flicker of its tail. He realized it was not just a mindless beast. It was intelligent, aware, and, somehow, it understood the emotions of those near it. Slowly, carefully, Jace took another step. The pet shifted, claws scraping the floor. The sound echoed like a warning. He held up his hands, showing he meant no harm. The aliens gasped quietly, some stepping back instinctively. No human had ever been this close. Many did not even last one step. Jace's mind searched for something, anything, that could help him connect with the creature. He remembered the stories he had read about alien pets and their strange ways. Most were controlled through power or fear. But this one, it seemed different. He noticed the small vibrations it made with its chest when it exhaled. Almost like a rhythm. Almost like a song. He took another careful step. The pet's head tilted slightly. Its massive eyes followed him, but now there was a hint of curiosity. The Emperor leaned forward on his throne, watching intently. "Do you feel it?" the Emperor asked softly. "The weight of its power? One wrong move and it will end you. All your kind. Yet here you are." Jace nodded slowly. He was not afraid, not in the way the aliens expected. He was careful, yes, but he felt something else. A spark of connection. The creature was not attacking him, it was observing him. He decided to take another step and then another, letting his movements be calm and predictable. Each step he took, the creature responded. Not with violence but with attention. The court whispered in disbelief. "It will strike," some said. "No human has ever survived this close." The generals shifted nervously, claws tapping on the floor. Yet Jace moved with steady hands and steady breaths. He could see the pet's chest vibrating again. He could almost hear it in a rhythm, almost like it was calling for something. Something he could give. Jace stopped a few meters away. The pet crouched slightly, eyes never leaving him. He thought about what he had seen on his home planet. Humans had ways to communicate that were subtle, sometimes sound-based. Maybe this creature responded to more than just touch or force. Maybe it listened, really listened. A sudden idea struck him. He pressed his lips together and exhaled quietly, a small whistling sound almost instinctively. It was not loud, but it carried in the stillness of the chamber. The pet froze, head cocking slightly. Its glowing eyes narrowed, scanning him carefully. The court gasped. Some aliens moved back, worried that the creature might suddenly attack. Jace's heart beat faster. He whistled again, softly, a simple tune that he had hummed as a child. The pet's chest vibrated in rhythm with the sound. Its massive body shifted, but not aggressively. Instead, it leaned slightly toward him, curiosity replacing aggression. The human's simple sound, small and calm, seemed to reach it in a way that words or commands never could. The Emperor's smile faded, replaced with surprise. He had expected the human to fail. He had expected the beast to strike and end the intruder instantly. But something was happening that he had never imagined. The pet was responding. Not violently. Not fearfully. But curiously. And that curiosity gave the human an opening. Jace continued to step closer, whistling the same tune, his hands still visible and relaxed. Each note seemed to calm the creature, to make it less tense. Its claws dug less into the floor, its tail flicked more slowly, and its growls faded into low murmurs. He realized that it was listening, not attacking. He realized he could communicate with it in a way no alien could. The court was silent now, watching in awe. No one had ever approached the Emperor's pet without fear. And yet here was a human, standing mere meters away, seemingly safe. Some of the generals whispered to each other, trying to understand what was happening. Others stared at the Emperor, waiting for his reaction. The Emperor's violet eyes narrowed. "Perhaps," he said quietly, almost to himself, "there is more to humans than I thought." His voice carried a mix of pride and disbelief. He leaned forward, intrigued. "Continue, human. Let us see what you can do." Jace took a deep breath. The pet's massive head tilted again, and it let out a low rumble that was not a threat. It was almost a question. Almost like it was asking for more. Jace's mind raced, thinking of the next steps. He had never handled a creature like this, but somehow instinctively he knew what to do. And in that moment, Jace understood that the challenge was not about fear, strength, or weapons. The challenge was about connection. About understanding. About reaching across the divide between species, and showing the creature that he meant no harm. The pet blinked slowly and the room held its breath. Jace realized that the impossible was already beginning. He could feel it, the first spark of trust between a human and a creature that had obeyed no one but an emperor for decades. Jace stood a few meters from the massive creature, heart racing but steady. Every eye in the chamber was on him. The emperor's court, the generals, the nobles, every alien waited to see what would happen next. Some whispered, fearing that the human would die at any moment. Others were frozen in awe, unable to look away. But Jace did not think about them. He thought only about the creature before him. The pet's glowing eyes followed every movement. Its massive claws scratched lightly on the floor, and its tail thumped with low power. Jace noticed again the vibrations it made, almost like a pulse, almost like a heartbeat. He had been observing the rhythm carefully, testing its reactions to his steps, his breathing, and now to sound. He remembered the small whistle he had tried before. It had made the creature pause, its head tilting slightly, curious. Jace drew in a deep breath. He stepped lightly to the left, letting the creature see him move calmly. Then he pressed his lips together and whistled again. A clear, simple tune, soft but steady. The pet froze completely, glowing eyes locked on him. Its massive body stiffened, not in aggression but in attention. The room went silent. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. The emperor leaned forward on his throne, violet eyes narrowing. "Interesting," he said quietly. "It listens to you. It has never listened to anyone but me." His voice carried disbelief, and the faintest trace of fear. For the first time, the emperor realized that this human might be special in ways he had not considered. Jace whistled again, softly, letting the tune flow naturally. The creature's chest vibrated in rhythm with the sound, its claws digging less into the floor. Slowly it stepped forward, massive legs moving like mountains shifting. Every step was careful, controlled, yet its presence shook the room. The court held their breath, some gripping the edges of the floor as though fearing the ground would split beneath the beast. Jace did not flinch. He raised one hand slowly, palm open, showing he meant no harm. He continued whistling, keeping the tone calm and steady. The pet's head lowered slightly, massive eyes still fixed on him. A low rumble escaped its throat, not a growl, not a threat, but a sound of acknowledgement. It was listening. It was thinking. The emperor's smirk faded. He had never imagined this. "Impossible," he whispered. "No human has ever survived this close, let alone controlled it." He leaned back slightly, eyes narrowing as he studied Jace. He had underestimated humans. He had believed they were fragile, weak, and predictable. And yet, here was one standing boldly in front of his deadliest pet, unafraid, calm, and strangely connected. The pet moved closer, slow and deliberate, each step sending vibrations through the floor. Jace felt the power radiating off it. Its scales shimmered under the lights, claws clicking softly, tail sweeping the floor. And still it did not attack. Instead, it came nearer, head tilting as if it wanted to understand him. Jace whistled one more time, this time with a longer tune, a simple melody he had hummed as a boy on Earth. The creature's massive head lowered almost to his level, eyes watching his every move. It sniffed the air, then emitted a low, gentle rumble. It was calm. Submissive, but not weak. There was power there, the kind of raw strength that could crush entire starships. Yet it obeyed the human. The court gasped. The generals whispered to each other. The emperor's closest advisors shook their heads, mouths open in disbelief. Never in recorded history had a human influenced the pet. Never. And now here it was, kneeling, or at least bowing its massive head, before one of the smallest creatures in the galaxy. Jace's heart pounded, but he did not move hastily. He knew that one wrong action could undo everything. He continued whistling, small notes, soft and careful. The creature took a cautious step closer, pressing its massive front paws to the floor, lowering its body slightly. Its glowing eyes flicked to the emperor briefly, then back to Jace. The message was clear. This human was not afraid, and this human commanded respect in a way the emperor never had. The emperor's lips pressed together. He leaned back, eyes fixed on the human and the pet. Pride and disbelief warred inside him. He realized something he had not before. Humans had something alien species did not. They had intuition, creativity, and courage. The smallest actions, even a whistle, could create bonds that brute force and authority could never achieve. Jace stopped whistling for a moment, letting silence fill the chamber. The pet stayed perfectly still, massive body tense but obedient. Its chest vibrated slowly, in sync with the faint echo of the melody that lingered in the air. The court stared in stunned silence. No one had ever imagined that a human could do this. No one had ever imagined the Emperor's pet could be tamed, at least tamed in respect, not fear. Jace tilted his head slightly, smiling faintly. The creature moved a step closer, then lowered its massive head until it was near his shoulder. He could feel the warmth, the power, and the intelligence of the beast in a single heartbeat. And in that moment he realized that he had achieved something no alien had ever managed. A connection based on understanding, not dominance. The Emperor's voice cut through the silence, low and full of awe. "You have done what no one else could," he said. "The pet obeys you. I did not see this coming." Jace nodded slowly, knowing that this was only the beginning. But for the first time he felt a bond, one that crossed species, one that bridged fear and respect. The impossible had begun, and the galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. The chamber was silent, still vibrating slightly from the pet's massive presence. Every alien in the room stared at Jace, some in awe, some in disbelief. The Emperor's eyes were fixed on him, dark and calculating, yet for the first time, there was a trace of respect. No one had ever done what this human had done. No one had ever earned the attention of the Emperor's deadliest creature without fear. Jace stood near the massive beast, heart steady, mind racing. He could feel its warmth, its intelligence, and a strange awareness, almost like it was testing him. The pet lowered its head to the floor, its glowing eyes flicking toward Jace as if asking silently, "What now? What do you want?" He knelt slowly, careful not to startle it. The pet's eyes followed him, unblinking. He reached out, palm open, not touching but showing respect. The creature rumbled softly, a sound that was not a growl, not a threat, but a question. Jace realized something. This pet was not merely strong. It was intelligent, emotional, and capable of understanding subtle cues. It had never obeyed anyone before because no one had ever approached it this way. The Emperor leaned forward, curiosity replacing pride. "Explain this, human," he demanded. "Why does it obey you? I am its master. I have given commands for decades and it listens only to me. And yet, it listens to you." Jace took a deep breath. "It's not about commands," he said simply. "It's about understanding. The way it reacts, it listens to rhythm, to tone, to subtle sounds. The way you speak, the way your species commands, it's too harsh, too rigid. But humans, we can reach it in ways you never tried." The court murmured among themselves, some in shock, some in disbelief. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "You are saying, my pet is responding to music?" Jace nodded. "Not exactly music. A pattern of sound it recognizes. A signal it can understand. Your commands are authority. Mine speak to it, not at it. And it chooses to respond." The pet shifted slightly, lowering its massive head to the floor further, almost pressing it closer to Jace's side. It made a low, gentle rumble like a sigh. Jace smiled faintly. He realized then that the creature's loyalty was not being won through fear or force, but through trust. And that trust, small and delicate, was something humans had a natural talent for. The Emperor's violet eyes widened, a flash of realization crossing his expression. "So, it was never truly mine to control?" he asked, his voice quieter, almost reverent. "I only assumed it obeyed me because I am the Emperor. But, it never responded to my commands. It responded to my presence and my authority. And yet, it responds to you, a human." Jace nodded slowly. "Yes, it's capable of choosing. It's not about power. It's about connection. I didn't force it. I offered it something simple, attention, respect, and understanding. That is why it listens to me." A ripple of murmurs went through the court. The generals whispered among themselves. "Humans, cleverer than we imagined," one said softly. Another shook his head, staring at the human and the massive pet kneeling together. "We underestimated them," a noble muttered. The Emperor leaned back on his throne, deep in thought. He had ruled countless worlds, commanded fleets, and commanded obedience. And yet here, before him, a human had shown him something he could not understand fully, a simple truth that humans possessed intuition and subtle skill that no alien technology or command could replicate. Jace felt the pet shift closer, massive body pressing gently near him, yet not threatening. Its glowing eyes flicked toward the Emperor, then back to him. It was as if it were saying, "This human respects me. He is worth listening to." And the Emperor's court could see it. The fear that had ruled the chamber for decades began to fade, replaced by awe and cautious respect. The Emperor's voice broke the silence. "Perhaps, we have judged humans wrongly," he said finally. "Not weak, not fragile. They have skills we cannot predict. Strength is not only in power but in understanding. In subtlety. In the courage to act when others hesitate. Jace nodded, still kneeling, still calm. He felt a bond forming, small but real, between himself and the Emperor's pet. It was not complete domination. It was trust. And that trust was powerful, stronger than fear, stronger than threats, stronger than authority. It had changed the Emperor's perception in an instant. The pet gave a low rumble of contentment, and the chamber seemed to relax. The tension that had filled the air for decades, the fear of the beast, was gone, replaced by wonder. The human had done what no alien could. He had earned the attention and respect of a creature feared across the galaxy. The Emperor studied Jace closely, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "You have much to teach us," he said. "Not by force, not by power, but by skill, understanding, and courage. Perhaps humans are not the fragile species we believed." Jace stood slowly, still cautious but confident. The pet followed his movement with ease, unthreatened, obedient in a way that went beyond authority. In that moment, Jace understood that the impossible had begun. Humans had a power no alien could measure, a power of connection, intuition, and courage. And for the first time, the Emperor realized that the galaxy's most feared creature had chosen to obey someone outside his rule. The implications were clear. Humans were not to be underestimated. The chamber had grown quiet, the echoes of the pet's massive movements fading into stillness. Jace stood near the creature, feeling its power and intelligence, yet also a strange calm. The Emperor's court, once tense with fear, now watched in awe. What they had witnessed would be remembered for centuries. A human, small and fragile in appearance, had earned the respect of the galaxy's most feared creature. The Emperor, still seated on his crystal throne, studied Jace carefully. His violet eyes, sharp and calculating, now held something else: respect. He had ruled countless worlds, commanded fleets, and tamed beasts through fear and authority. Yet none of it had prepared him for what a single human had accomplished in mere minutes. "You have changed my perspective," he said quietly, voice carrying across the chamber. "Perhaps we have misjudged your kind." Jace nodded politely, though his mind was still alert. He knew the chamber was not entirely safe. Some aliens still whispered doubts, some still doubted his place here. But the bond he had formed with the pet was real, and that bond spoke louder than any fear or suspicion. The massive creature shifted its head slightly, brushing its glowing eyes against his shoulder in a gesture that was almost affectionate. It had chosen him, and that choice carried weight no one could ignore. The Emperor's generals and nobles began to murmur among themselves. They could not fully grasp what had just happened, but they understood its significance. Humans, long considered weak and fragile, possessed a skill that aliens could not measure: courage, intuition, and a subtle understanding of creatures and beings unlike themselves. The whispers spread quickly through the court. "Perhaps humans are underestimated," one general said, voice low. Another shook his head, staring at the human and the pet. "Cleverer than we imagined," a noble muttered. The Emperor leaned forward, his voice firm but tinged with curiosity. "Human, tell me, how did you accomplish this?" Jace smiled faintly. "I observed," he said simply. "I watched the creature, its movements, its reactions, the rhythm of its breathing. I noticed patterns. And I acted carefully, calmly, without fear. That is how it listened. That is how it responded." The Emperor's eyes narrowed, but there was admiration there too. He realized then that no amount of force, no amount of authority, could replace understanding. "So your kind, your species, has this ability naturally?" he asked. Jace nodded. "Yes. Humans are small and seem weak. But we adapt. We notice details. We understand connections others might miss. It is not power alone that matters, it is awareness, patience, and courage." The pet rumbled softly, moving closer to Jace's side. Its massive body radiated strength, yet there was no aggression. The court watched in stunned silence as the human and the creature stood together, not as master and servant, but as equals bound by trust and understanding. The Emperor leaned back, absorbing the lesson quietly. For the first time he considered humans not as fragile outsiders, but as beings with hidden potential. Jace took a deep breath. "It will listen to me because it trusts me," he said, glancing at the creature. "It has always been loyal to someone it respects. It chose me, just as it has always chosen the Emperor." A low rumble came from the pet, almost as if it were agreeing. The court fell silent again, realizing the full implications. The Emperor's most feared creature, loyal for decades to the galaxy's most powerful ruler, had responded to a human. That was a message none of them could ignore. The Emperor finally spoke, his voice carrying authority but also a note of humility. "Let this be a lesson to all present," he said. "Do not underestimate humans. They may be small, they may seem fragile, but they possess skills that even the strongest cannot measure. Strength is not only in power or command, it is in courage, in understanding, and in connection. Jace nodded, aware that his life and his actions had changed the course of perception in the galaxy. He had proven something vital, that humans, often underestimated, could achieve what aliens could not, through intelligence, patience, and empathy. The pet stepped even closer, nudging him gently. Its massive head rested near his shoulder, glowing eyes calm and intelligent. Jace smiled faintly, understanding the significance. The creature had chosen him, and in doing so, it had bridged a gap between species that had once seemed unbridgeable. The Emperor rose from his throne, approaching Jace carefully. His expression was unreadable at first, but then he offered a nod of respect. "You have earned it," he said simply. "Your kind has earned my recognition and perhaps, in time, a place among my advisors." The court watched, some in shock, some in awe, as the Emperor acknowledged the human's achievement. Whispers filled the chamber. Humans were no longer outsiders. They were not weak. They were capable of insight, bravery, and understanding that even the galaxy's strongest beings could not match. Jace glanced at the pet, feeling the warmth and trust of the massive creature beside him. The impossible had been achieved. Humans had proven their worth, not through weapons or strength, but through courage, observation, and empathy. And the galaxy had taken notice. As Jace stepped back, the pet followed, staying close but calm. The Emperor watched them both, silent for a moment before speaking again. "Let it be known," he said, voice echoing through the chamber, "that humans are not to be underestimated. Today one has earned the loyalty of my pet, and in doing so, shown that courage and understanding are stronger than fear and authority." The chamber fell silent again, this time with respect, awe, and a new understanding. The humans had proven themselves. And in that moment the galaxy shifted slightly, forever changed by a simple whistle, a human's courage, and the trust of a massive alien creature. Jace smiled faintly, knowing that this was only the beginning. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again. And the Emperor's pet, now calm and obedient, stayed by his side, a living symbol of trust, connection, and the power of understanding.